The moment Chase Donovan's hands ripped through Harper's shirt in that empty gymnasium, she didn't scream. She smiled. Because what those four boys didn't know was that 3,000 people were watching them do it. Live. Let me tell you about Harper Sinclair. And let me tell you why that smile changed everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon in November when I first heard about what happened at Ridgemont High. You know Ridgemont, that pristine school on the hill where Denver's elite send their kids, where the parking lot looks like a luxury car dealership and the cafeteria serves sushi on Fridays, where problems get buried under donation checks and nobody talks about the kids who disappear halfway through senior year. Harper wasn't supposed to be there. She was the girl who showed up in October, 2 months after school started, with haunted eyes and a mother who jumped at car backfires. The transfer student from Aurora. You remember Aurora, don't you? That movie theater. That night. Harper was there, in Theater 9. She was 15 then, watching a midnight premiere with her dad, Officer Marcus Sinclair. He didn't make it out. But Harper did, somehow, 2 years later. Here she was at Ridgemont, trying to blend into the wallpaper. She chose the back corner of every classroom, wore oversized hoodies even when the heating made everyone else strip down to t-shirts. She moved through the halls like a ghost, there, but not there, visible, but forgotten. The other kids whispered about her sometimes. "That's the Aurora girl," they'd say. "The one who hid under the seats." They had no idea who they were talking about. The thing about trauma, real trauma, is that it changes you in ways people don't expect. Some folks, they break. They crumble inward like old paper. But others forge themselves into something else entirely. Harper spent 2 years after Aurora learning things most teenagers never think about. How to spot exits in every room. How to move silently. How to hide cameras in everyday objects. How to hack into security systems. How to survive. Her therapist called it hypervigilance. Harper called it being ready. The first time she saw Chase Donovan, something in her gut twisted. It wasn't attraction, God, no. It was recognition. The kind of recognition a rabbit feels when it spots a wolf. Chase was everything Ridgemont worshipped 6'2". Lacrosse team captain, senator's son with a mayor father and a smile that could sell ice to Eskimos. He ruled those hallways like a king. His court of athletes and rich kids trailing behind him like disciples. But Harper had seen predators before. She knew their walk, their laugh, the way they scanned rooms for weakness. Chase Donovan was hunting something. Always hunting. She just didn't know what. Until that Thursday after school. Harper had stayed late in the computer lab, her sanctuary, the one place where her skills meant more than her past. She was walking to her beat-up Honda Civic, the one that looked like a food stamp in the sea of Mercedes and BMWs, when she heard voices behind the equipment shed. Low voices, angry voices. She should have kept walking. Any smart person would have kept walking. But Harper hadn't survived Aurora by being smart. She'd survived by being aware. So she stopped. She listened. And then, very quietly, she took out her phone. 20 pills of Addy, 40 of Oxy. Chase's voice carried in the cold November air. "And I need them by tomorrow's game." "That's a lot, man." The other voice was older, rougher. "Your daddy know his golden boy is moving this much product. My daddy thinks I'm at prayer group right now." Chase laughed, and it was an ugly sound. "Just get me the stuff. Vince, these rich kids are stressed about early admission, supply and demand. Baby. Harper's thumb moved silently across her phone screen. The camera was already modified. No shutter sound, enhanced low-light capability. Another gift from her post-Aurora education. She captured Chase taking a thick envelope from his backpack, counting bills with practiced efficiency. She captured the handshake, the exchange of bags. The moment Chase tucked plastic baggies into his Letterman jacket. She captured everything. And then, because the universe has a sick sense of humor, her phone buzzed. A text from her mom. "Where are you, honey?" The sound was tiny, barely a whisper in the wind. But Chase's head snapped up like a hunting dog catching a scent. His eyes found hers across 30 feet of parking lot. And Harper saw the exact moment his expression shifted from surprise to calculation to something much, much worse. "Well, well," he called out, already moving toward her with that athlete's grace. "Harper Sinclair. The ghost girl herself." Harper didn't run. Running triggers pursuit instinct, another lesson from After. Instead, she pocketed her phone smoothly and faced him, keeping her body language neutral, bored even. "Chase," she said, like she'd just noticed him, like she hadn't just photographed him committing multiple felonies. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive that probably cost more than her mom's electric bill. His dealer, Vince, had melted away into the shadows like smoke. "Funny thing," Chase said, and his voice was conversational, almost friendly. "I could have sworn I saw a phone in your hand just now." "Yeah, texting my mom." Harper shrugged. "She worries. Moms do that." Chase agreed. Then, faster than thought, his hand shot out and gripped her wrist. Not hard enough to bruise. Chase was too smart for visible evidence, but hard enough to make a point. "How about you show me what you were texting?" This was the moment. The crossroads. Harper could give him the phone. Delete the photos. Pretend this never happened. Go back to being the ghost girl in the corner. Stay safe. Stay invisible. But Harper had already spent 2 years being invisible. 2 years of survivor's guilt and therapy sessions and jumping at sudden noises. 2 years of watching other predators hunt other prey while she hid in her hoodies and tried to forget the weight of her father's body shielding hers. "No," she said quietly. Chase blinked. People didn't say no to Chase Donovan. His grip tightened fractionally. "I'm sorry. What?" "I said no," Harper repeated, louder this time. "And unless you want me to scream rape in a parking lot full of security cameras, you'll let go of my wrist. Right. Now." For a heartbeat, Chase's mask slipped. She saw what lived underneath, something cold and reptilian. Something that calculated odds and consequences with computer-like efficiency. Then the golden boy's smile snapped back into place, and he released her. "You're making a mistake," he said pleasantly. "You have no idea who you're messing with." Harper actually laughed, a short, bitter sound. "Chase, I've been shot at by a psychopath with an AR-15. I held my dying father's hand while SWAT teams cleared the building. You think you scare me? You're just another spoiled rich boy who thinks daddy's money makes him untouchable." The smile never left Chase's face, but his eyes went dead. "We'll see about that. Ghost girl, we'll see." He turned and walked away, pulling out his phone as he went. Harper knew she'd just declared war. She also knew she had about 12 hours before Chase's retaliation began. 12 hours to prepare for whatever hell a senator's grandson could rain down on a nobody transfer student. She drove home planning. Her mom was in the kitchen, stirring something that smelled like childhood, her grandmother's soup recipe, the one she only made when she was trying not to cry. "How was school, baby?" her mom asked without turning around. "Fine," Harper lied smoothly. "Just fine." That night, while her mom slept the restless sleep of someone who'd lost everything, Harper worked. She uploaded the photos to 3 different cloud services, all behind VPN shields. She created backup email accounts, distributed the evidence across platforms Chase couldn't possibly access all at once. And then, on impulse, she did something else. She created a simple website. Black background, white text, anonymous submission form. She called it Ridgemont Secrets. "Know something?" the header asked. "Say something, anonymously, safely, finally." She went to bed at 3 a.m., laptop hidden in the ceiling tiles, phone factory reset with the important data backed up elsewhere. When she closed her eyes, she didn't see the movie theater anymore. She saw Chase Donovan's dead shark eyes and wondered if she'd just signed her own death warrant. The next morning, she found out. Her locker was painted with a single word in red spray paint, snitch. But that was just the appetizer. The main course came during first period when her phone, her factory reset. Supposedly clean phone, lit up with notification after notification. Someone had created an Instagram account, Harper Sinclair Exposed. The photos were good. Photoshopped, but good. Harper's face seamlessly attached to naked bodies in compromising positions. Captions that suggested she'd do anything for drugs, for attention, for money. Within an hour, the whole school had seen them. Within 2 hours, someone had forwarded them to her mother. Harper sat in calculus, watching the numbers blur on the board, feeling 300 students' eyes on her back. Someone threw a paper ball at her head. Someone else whispered "slut" as they passed her desk. Mrs. Henderson, the teacher, saw everything and did nothing. But Harper just took notes. Calm, steady, like her father taught her at the range. Breathe in, hold, squeeze, breathe out. Control what you can control. At lunch, she found her car tires slashed, security cameras conveniently malfunctioning. After school, a bag of white powder fell out of her locker when she opened it, right in front of Vice Principal Morrison. Only Harper's quick thinking, "That's not mine. Test it right now. I'll take a drug test, too," kept her from suspension. The powder turned out to be flour, but the message was clear. That night, Chase texted her from a burner number, "This is day 1. Delete the photos or day 2 gets worse." Harper looked at the message for a long time. Then she opened her laptop, logged into Ridgemont Secrets, and posted the first anonymous submission. "Chase Donovan is dealing drugs behind the gym. I've seen him. I'm scared to give my name. Please, help." Within an hour, 17 more submissions poured in. Students who'd been too terrified to speak up, who'd been blackmailed, threatened, beaten. A freshman who'd overdosed on Chase's pills but been too scared to report it. A girl whose brother had gotten hooked and dropped out. Story after story, all with the same theme: Chase Donovan was untouchable. Harper posted them all. Have you ever watched a small flame catch dry wood? That's what happened next. The website spread through Ridgemont like California wildfire. Everyone had a secret. Everyone had a story. And suddenly, they had somewhere to tell it. By Monday morning, Chase wasn't smiling anymore. He cornered Harper by the east stairwell, the one without cameras. 4 of his boys formed a wall, blocking any escape. Chase's face was marble, beautiful and cold. "Take it down," he said simply. Now. I don't know what you're talking about, Harper replied, voice steady despite her hammering heart. Don't play dumb. Chase stepped closer. I know it's you. Little Aurora survivor thinks she's a hero now. Think you're gonna clean up Ridgemont. Even if it was me, Harper said. Which it's not. Why would I stop? Afraid Daddy might find out his perfect son is a drug dealer. The slap came fast, snapping her head to the side. Stars burst across her vision. When she looked back, Chase was examining his hand like he'd touched something dirty. That's assault, Harper said, tasting blood. Prove it. Chase smiled. Who's gonna believe the crazy trauma girl over me? I own this school. I own the cops. Hell, my dad owns your mom's job. Oh yeah, I know she works at Denver Memorial. Be a shame if they found out she's been stealing pain meds. She hasn't. Harper spit blood onto his designer shoes. Doesn't matter if she has or not. Chase shrugged. What matters is what I can make people believe. And Ghost Girl, I can make them believe anything. The bell rang. Students flooded the hallway, and Chase's wall dissolved seamlessly into the crowd. Harper stood there, jaw throbbing, mind racing. She'd underestimated him. This wasn't some high school bully. This was a criminal empire in miniature, complete with connections and contingencies. But Harper had survived worse, and she was done being anyone's victim. That night, she made 3 calls. The first was to someone from her support group, another Aurora survivor who'd become a tech specialist. The second was to a reporter at the Denver Post, who'd covered her father's funeral. The third was to a number she'd memorized but never used, a federal agent who'd given her his card 2 years ago, saying, if you ever need anything. Then she upgraded Ridgemont Secrets, added encryption, added verification systems, added a countdown timer at the top of the page. Major revelation coming in 72 hours. Tuesday morning. Chase's escalation was swift and brutal. Harper found her mother's car windshield smashed in their driveway. Her few friends at school suddenly wouldn't meet her eyes. Someone called in a bomb threat using a voice modulator that sounded suspiciously like her. She spent 3 hours in interrogation before they let her go. But the submissions kept coming. Hundreds now. Not just about Chase, but about the whole rotten system. Teachers taking bribes. Administrators covering up assaults. A web of corruption that went all the way to City Hall. Wednesday was when Chase made his biggest mistake. Harper was walking to her car after school, exhausted, bruised, but unbroken. The parking lot was emptier than usual, most students fleeing campus to avoid association with the growing scandal. She should have noticed the setup, should have seen the trap. But she was tired, and trauma makes you hypervigilant until exhaustion makes you sloppy. They grabbed her by the equipment shed, the same place where it all started. 4 of them, including Chase. They dragged her into the gym, into the equipment room that smelled like old leather and sweat. Last chance, Chase said, pulling out a knife. Not to cut her, he was too smart for that, but to terrify, to break her. Delete everything, shut it down, or things get very, very bad for you. Harper looked at him, then at the knife, then at the 3 boys holding her arms, and she did something none of them expected. She laughed. You still don't get it, she said. I'm not the girl you think I am. I'm not some scared little victim you can intimidate into silence. No, Chase brought the knife closer, running the flat of the blade along her cheek. Then what are you? Harper smiled, the same smile she'd given when they tore her shirt. I'm the girl who's been recording everything since the moment you grabbed me. Chase froze. His eyes darted to her clothes, looking for a wire, a camera, anything. Live streaming, actually, Harper continued conversationally. Started the moment your boy Jackson texted his girlfriend that you were planning something. Did you know Jackson's girlfriend's little sister overdosed on your pills last year? Yeah, she's been helping me. This whole thing, it's been live on Ridgemont Secrets for, about 6 minutes now. The color drained from Chase's face. He pulled out his phone, fingers fumbling as he navigated to the website. And there it was, a live stream with 3,000 viewers and climbing. Perfect audio of every threat, every admission. His face clear in the frame thanks to the camera hidden in Harper's jacket button. You're done, Harper said quietly. All of you. That's when they heard the sirens. You see, the federal agent Harper had called, he'd been building a case on the Donovan family for 2 years. He just needed evidence, probable cause, a reason to move, and a live-streamed assault with drug-dealing confessions. That was Christmas morning for the FBI. But here's the thing about cornered animals. They're most dangerous when they have nothing left to lose. And Chase Donovan, watching his empire crumble in real time, decided if he was going down, he'd take Harper with him. The knife moved fast, slashing not at Harper, but at her clothes, tearing fabric, humiliating her in front of thousands. His boys joined in, ripping at her jacket, her shirt, laughing as they exposed her to the camera. They wanted to break her, destroy her, make her nothing. They didn't know Harper had already been broken, in a movie theater, in the dark, holding her father's hand as his breathing stopped. They didn't know she'd spent 2 years putting herself back together, piece by jagged piece. They didn't know that under the torn clothes were more cameras, more microphones, more evidence. And they definitely didn't know that Fallon Donovan, Chase's own sister, was standing outside the gym door with Officer Ramirez and a full FBI tactical team. Tears streaming down her face as she watched her brother become the monster she'd always known he was. The door exploded inward just as Chase raised his fist. Federal agents, nobody move. And in that moment, as Chase Donovan hit the ground face first, as his empire collapsed in a cascade of arrests and revelations, Harper Sinclair stood there in her torn clothes, surrounded by cameras and chaos, and felt something she hadn't felt in 2 years. Peace. Because sometimes the only way out of darkness is through it. Sometimes you have to stop running from your trauma and turn it into your strength. Sometimes the ghost girl has to become something else entirely. But that's only half the story. Because what happened next? When they found the body in Chase's trunk. When the real scope of the operation came to light. When Harper discovered she wasn't the only one who'd been planning revenge. That's when things got really interesting. That's when we learned why Chase was so desperate to silence her, what he was really hiding, and who was really pulling the strings at Ridgemont High. But that's a story for another time. The body in Chase Donovan's trunk belonged to Jackson Reed. Remember Jackson Chase's former best friend who'd supposedly moved to California last month? Well, he never made it past the Colorado state line. And when the FBI dogs started barking at that Mercedes G-Wagon, when they popped that trunk and found what was left of a 17-year-old kid who'd tried to do the right thing, everything changed. See? Harper Sinclair wasn't the first person to try to expose Chase Donovan. She was just the first to survive it. Let me back up. Because to understand what really happened that day in the Ridgemont High gym, you need to know about the 48 hours that came before. You need to know about the phone call that changed everything. It was Sunday night, 3 days before the live stream that brought down an empire. Harper was in her room, door locked, laptop open, sorting through the hundreds of confessions pouring into Ridgemont's secrets. Most were about drugs, cheating, typical high school darkness, but one made her stop cold. Jackson Reed didn't move to California. I saw Chase and 3 others carry something heavy to his car the night Jackson left. It was wrapped in a tarp. It was the size of a person. I'm scared. Please help. The submission came with a video attachment. Grainy security footage from someone's Ring doorbell. 4 figures in the dark, struggling with something large. Loading it into a trunk. The timestamp, October 15th. The same night, Jackson Reed had supposedly left town to live with his dad. Harper's hands shook as she enhanced the video. She'd learned a lot about death in that Aurora theater. The weight of it, the stillness of it, and that tarp-wrapped bundle had the unmistakable sag of dead weight. That's when her burner phone rang, the one only 3 people had the number for. Harper. The voice was young, scared, female. This is Fallon. Fallon Donovan. Please, don't hang up. Chase's little sister. The quiet one who painted watercolors and volunteered at the animal shelter. The one nobody ever suspected of anything because she lived in her brother's shadow. Invisible and overlooked. I know about Jackson, Fallon whispered. I know what my brother did, and I know he's planning to do it again. To you. They met at a 24-hour diner on Colfax. The kind where nobody asks questions and the coffee tastes like motor oil. Fallon looked smaller than her 15 years, drowning in an oversized hoodie, eyes red from crying. Jackson was going to the feds, she said, sliding a flash drive across the sticky table. He'd been recording Chase for months. Meetings with suppliers, deals with kids, even the parties where they'd drug girls. He was building a case. Harper pocketed the drive carefully. What happened? Chase found out. One of the cops on his payroll tipped him off. Fallon's voice broke. They made it look like Jackson was high, drove his car off the road. But I saw them bring him back, saw them put him in Chase's trunk. I've been too scared to tell anyone because... She pulled up her sleeve, revealing old scars, new bruises. Chase owns this town. Even our parents are scared of him. Why tell me now? Harper asked. Because you're different. You already survived the worst thing. And because... Fallon met her eyes. Because I heard him on the phone tonight. He's got something planned for Wednesday. Something about teaching the snitch a final lesson. He mentioned the gym and acid. Acid. Harper's blood went cold. Not to kill her. That would bring too much heat. But to disfigure her. To mark her. To make her wish she was dead. There's more, Fallon continued. The drugs, that's just the tip. Chase works for someone big. Someone who uses high school kids to move product because juveniles get lighter sentences. There's a whole network. Denver, Aurora, Boulder. Hundreds of kids. Millions of dollars. Who? Harper leaned forward. Who's running it? Fallon glanced around nervously. You know, the Perseus Foundation. The charity that gives scholarships to disadvantaged kids. Harper nodded. Everyone knew Perseus. They'd rebuilt the Aurora Theater, funded trauma counseling. Their founder was a local hero. It's a front, Fallon whispered. They recruit kids from broken homes, kids who need money for college. They turn them into dealers. And if anyone tries to leave or talk, she gestured helplessly, Jackson wasn't the first. He was just the first from Ridgemont. Harper's mind raced. This wasn't just about Chase anymore. This was about a systematic exploitation of vulnerable teenagers, hidden behind charity work and good intentions. "I need you to do something for me," Harper said finally. "Wednesday, when Chase makes his move, I need you to be ready. Can you get into his phone, his laptop?" Fallon nodded. "He uses the same password for everything. Our dead dog's name." "Good, because we're going to need everything. Every contact, every transaction, every communication. We're not just taking down Chase, we're taking down the whole thing." They parted ways at dawn. Harper drove home knowing she was walking into a trap, but sometimes the only way to catch a predator is to be the bait. Monday came. Tuesday came. The harassment escalated just like Fallon predicted, but Harper endured it all, knowing what was coming. She spent her nights preparing, coordinating with her Aurora support group contact, the FBI agent, the reporter, building a network of her own. And then Wednesday arrived. When they grabbed her by the equipment shed, Harper was ready. The cameras, the microphones, the live stream, all of it planned down to the second. What she hadn't planned for was the pure sadistic joy in Chase's eyes as he pulled out that knife. The way his friends laughed as they tore at her clothes. The moment when she realized that even knowing it was all being recorded, they didn't care. They were too far gone, too deep in their own darkness to stop. But Fallon came through. While Chase was in that gym, acting out his sick revenge fantasy, his little sister was in his room, downloading everything, years of evidence, names, dates, financial records, the entire Perseus network laid bare in spreadsheets and encrypted messages. She sent it all to the FBI email Harper had given her, CCing every major news outlet in Colorado, when the FBI burst through that gym door. They weren't just there for a high school assault. They were there for the biggest juvenile drug ring bust in Colorado history. Chase hit the ground, screaming about his rights, his father, his lawyers. But Officer Ramirez, young, idealistic, one of the few clean cops in the district, just smiled grimly and said the words Harper had been waiting to hear. "Chase Donovan, you're under arrest for the murder of Jackson Reed." The gym erupted. Chase's boys scattered like roaches when the light turns on, only to run straight into more agents. Harper stood there, shaking not from fear, but from adrenaline, as EMTs wrapped her in a blanket and led her away from the chaos. But the story doesn't end there. Because, in the hallway, waiting for her, was someone unexpected. A woman in her 40s, expensive suit, perfect makeup, eyes like winter ice. Marianne Thorne, founder and CEO of the Perseus Foundation. The woman who'd held Harper's hand at her father's funeral, who'd promised to take care of the Aurora families, who had been running a drug ring using traumatized teenagers as pawns. "Hello, Harper," she said smoothly, as if FBI agents weren't swarming her building. "I heard you've been busy." Harper stopped, EMTs pausing with her. "It's over, Mrs. Thorne." "Is it?" Marianne smiled, cold and sharp. "I've been doing this for 15 years, dear. You think one boy's arrest changes anything. You think your little website and your moment of fame will stop what's coming. The FBI has everything," Harper said. "Fallon gave them your whole network." For the first time, Marianne's smile faltered. "Fallon, that little mouse. That little mouse just burned your empire to the ground." Harper felt her own smile growing. Turns out when you torture children, sometimes their siblings grow up wanting revenge. FBI agents moved past them toward Marianne, but she kept talking, desperate now. You don't understand. These kids, they needed the money. They needed the opportunities. I was helping them. You were using them. Harper's voice rose. You took kids like me, kids who'd been through hell, and you turned them into criminals. You took their trauma and weaponized it. And what did you do? Marianne snarled as agents cuffed her. You used your trauma, too, to become what? A vigilante. A spy. Harper thought about that for a moment. Then she pulled back the blanket, revealing what the torn clothes had hidden. Not just cameras. A wire. An FBI badge on a chain. No, she said quietly. I became an agent. The truth was simpler than anyone imagined, and more complex than anyone could have guessed. After Aurora, after watching her father die, protecting others. Harper hadn't just learned to survive. She'd learned to fight back. The FBI had approached her 6 months ago, knowing Perseus was recruiting Aurora survivors, knowing they needed someone on the inside who could blend in, who had a real story, real trauma. Harper Sinclair, 17-year-old senior, was also Harper Sinclair, deputized federal informant. The Ridgemont Secrets website, an FBI operation from the start, designed to crowdsource intelligence. The confrontation with Chase orchestrated to draw out the bigger players. Even her enrollment at Ridgemont had been strategic. They'd known Chase was a key player. Known his father's political connections made him untouchable through normal channels. But what the FBI hadn't counted on was Jackson Reed trying to be a hero on his own, or Fallon Donovan finding her own courage, or Chase being stupid enough to keep evidence of murder in his trunk. Sometimes the best operations are the ones that go sideways in exactly the right way. As they led Marianne Thorne away, she turned back one last time. You think you won? There are others. There will always be others. As long as there are broken kids, there will be people like me to exploit them. Harper watched her go, then looked around at the chaos. FBI agents arresting teachers who'd taken bribes, students being questioned about what they knew, parents arriving in panic, some relieved, some already calling lawyers. She found Fallon sitting on the front steps, social workers hovering nearby. The younger girl looked up as Harper approached, tears streaming down her face. Is it over? Fallon asked. Harper sat down beside her, still wrapped in the EMT blanket, feeling every one of her 17 years. This part is, but your brother. There's going to be a trial. It's going to get ugly. I know. Fallon wiped her eyes. But at least no one else will die, no more Jacksons. They sat there as the sun set over Ridgemont High, watching justice finally arrive in a place that had forgotten what it looked like. Harper's phone buzzed, her real phone, not the burner. A text from her mother. Saw the news. Are you okay? I'm on my way. For the first time in 2 years. Harper could answer honestly. She was okay. Not perfect, not healed, but okay. The Perseus Foundation fell within a week. 43 arrests across 3 states. Hundreds of kids freed from a cycle of exploitation. Millions in drug money seized. Chase Donovan, facing life for murder and racketeering. His father, the mayor, resigning in disgrace. His mother, entering rehab. Finally freed from the prison of denial. And Harper Sinclair. She finished her senior year at a different school, one where nobody knew her story. The FBI offered her a full-time position after graduation, but she turned it down. She'd done her part, saved who she could save. Now it was time to save herself. She went to college on the East Coast, studied social work and criminal justice, started a nonprofit for trauma survivors, a real one, not a front. Sometimes she gets emails from kids at Ridgemont, thanking her for giving them a voice. Sometimes she hears from Fallon, who's living with an aunt now, painting again, healing. But mostly, Harper just lives. She goes to movies without checking exits first. She wears fitted clothes without hidden cameras. She trusts people, carefully but truly. Because that's the thing about surviving darkness. It's not enough to just make it through. You have to find your way back to the light. You have to choose, every day, to be more than your trauma, to be more than someone else's victim or even your own vengeance. Harper Sinclair was the girl who got shot at in a movie theater, the girl who held her dying father, the girl who took down a drug ring, the ghost who became a hunter. But now she's just Harper. And that's exactly who she wants to be. The last time I saw her, she was laughing at something on her phone, sitting in a coffee shop near her college campus. She looked like any other 20-year-old, worried about finals and friendship drama and what to do with her life. She looked free. And in the end, isn't that the best revenge of all? Not just surviving those who try to break you, but thriving despite them. Building a life so good, so full, that what they did to you becomes just another chapter in your story. Not the whole book. Harper Sinclair fought back. But more importantly, Harper Sinclair moved on. And somewhere in Colorado, in a maximum security prison, Chase Donovan is learning what it means to be powerless, to be prey instead of predator, to finally understand what fear feels like when you can't buy your way out of it. They say he doesn't smile anymore. Good. But wait, there's one more thing you should know. Last month, I got a call. It was Fallon Donovan, now 20 years old, studying art therapy at Colorado State. Her voice was different, stronger, clearer, no longer the whisper of a scared 15-year-old. "I'm going to see him," she said. "Chase, he's been requesting visits for 2 years. I think I'm finally ready." I met her at the prison, that concrete fortress where Colorado keeps its worst. She wore her mother's dress, the one their mom wore to court every day during the trial, before the shame and guilt finally pushed her to get real help. "You don't have to do this," I told her. "I know," Fallon said, "but I need to. For me, not for him." The visiting room was all reinforced glass and watched phones. When they brought Chase in, I barely recognized him. Prison had carved away his golden boy veneer, left something hollow and desperate in its place. His hands shook, his eyes darted. The king of Ridgemont High was gone, replaced by just another number in orange. When he saw Fallon, something broke in his face. "Fal, you came. I came to tell you something," Fallon said, steady as stone. "I forgive you." Chase's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "You, what?" "I forgive you for the bruises, for the fear, for making our house a nightmare. I forgive you because holding on to that hate was killing me. And you've already taken enough." She stood to leave, but Chase's voice cracked. "Wait, Fallon, please. I think about him, Jackson. Every night, his face—" "Good," Fallon said simply. "Maybe one day you'll find a way to live with it. Maybe you won't. Either way, It's not my burden anymore. As we walked out, past the towers and wire, Fallon stopped and looked back. You know what's funny? He always said I was weak, the mouse, the nobody. But I'm the one walking free. She drove away in a car bought with money from selling her paintings. Beautiful, haunting works about survival and redemption. I hear she's opening a gallery show next month. The theme, After the Storm. Harper's planning to attend. So am I, because that's what we do. Those of us who've seen the darkness, we find each other. We bear witness. We remember not just the horror, but the heroism, the quiet courage of a 15-year-old girl who chose justice over family, the determination of a teenager who turned her trauma into purpose, the strength it takes to say enough when everyone else stays silent. Chase Donovan tried to tear Harper Sinclair apart in that gym. Instead, he created a legend. And legends, they inspire others to find their own courage, their own voice, their own way to fight back. Sometimes in the right light. That's everything.